Hi everyone, I'm Henel Vidal. I'm Chief Content Officer of 876 Invest, and welcome to another installation of the Vault. Today, our guest is Rushio Billings, who co-founded Orba Jamaica Limited and GiftMe Jamaica Limited. And today we're here to listen to some of his stories and his journey along the way and see where he's headed. So, Rushio, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for coming and taking the time out of your busy schedule. So,
Sure.
first, let's begin. Who is Rushio Billings?
So I've never been asked that question before. So a very simple answer. I'm very passionate about creating things. I'm very passionate about business models and see how I can actually monetize, inefficiencies that I see in different businesses or industries. For example, having been a software engineer since I was 11, started writing code at that point. I have morphed into an entrepreneur. And so instead of being a software engineer professionally, I started building different businesses. And, I've loved it and I still love it. And I'm here today.
Oh, nice. So, what would have inspired that journey from such a young age? Was it anything familial, impressions on you or anything like that?
Yes. So my dad is an engineer. So he's a mechanical engineer. So we got taught basic engineering principles from an early age. So pretty much, just the engineering discipline. And then he bought us a computer really early so that my bigger brother, he got into mobile phones. And then one day his friend came to our house and he said, "Yo, I know how to create my own website." At that point, I was about 9 or 10, and I was like, "What is a website?"
Yeah.
So they started creating websites. I started following along. They dropped off, and I continued. Really, so I started back from about 2000, 2001, when everything was a feature phone. So a feature phone is literally just a color screen phone with a keypad. And I started building mobile websites with wireless markup languages, that's WML, and use different website builders to create mobile websites. And that's how I got started, really. Created a gang in high school, and we all started building mobile websites. And, the rest is history.
Oh, nice. That's such an inspiring story, from something simple as, your parents bringing home a computer. And
Yes.
then you guys just, started playing around with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. So next, I want to touch a little bit on your experience. What was your experience like there?
All right. So just before we answer that question, I really started programming from I was in high school, like creating real stuff, right? So from high school, I entered the World Skills International competition where I won locally against all the top schools in the country.
Oh. Well,
right?
as you speak of that was my next question.
Yes. So I was also into football, and I played football. I was a part of a scouting program where I was supposed to really go away to play football, either at West Virginia University or Salem University, because my grades were good and I also was good at football. After winning the World Skills, coming out of sixth form and the national finals at the UTEC, I got a scholarship from NCU, right? And that's really how I chose NCU to start computer science. So it was either, football or computer science programming, which was my passion. So I started computer science as a major, which, you can't have a minor in computer science. So a 4-year degree program. And when I started NCU, met up with a few friends that were from high school, and the rest, we started doing a bunch of things. So just to jump quickly to your question, so I wasn't necessarily interested in a computer science program because I'm a creative. All the classes, they were all boring to me. Writing code and building stuff was my passion. And so when I just went to school, I started a project. It was called WAP Create. And I invited a few friends, Roger Simpson and Nicholas Brown and Romario Hall. Basically, they're actually still some of the people that I work with today, and they helped me to build this out. It was a tool to allow anybody across the world to create their own mobile website without knowing any prior programming languages or knowledge. So our tagline was create your own mobile website as easy as 1, 2, 3. And that project got a lot of traction. It got over 100,000 registered users on there and about 3 million unique visitors per day. So at any given point in time, the servers were on fire. People were creating websites, uploading content, and it's almost as if it was like a Squarespace or a Wix, but it was for mobile websites. What you see, what you get for mobile websites, and it became very popular. But we didn't know a lot about monetization, so we actually found some what you call mobile ad networks, such as AdMob, that is owned by Google, or AdMode, or a bunch of different ones. And we installed some ads on the different pages. We would make a lot of money from the ads. I think we made a few thousand pounds. But what happened is that for some reason, these ad networks would just block us whenever we were supposed to get a payout. And so that never worked out. I eventually sold the project. That was my first sale. I sold the project in 2013 to some Indian guys who then flipped it for a lot more money than I sold them for. So, I mean, that experience was also good, and it got me into the mindset of how to build a business actually, and how to to the point of acquisition. During that time, I'd entered Microsoft Imagine Cup. I flew to London, where I represented Jamaica as a part of the World Skills International Program, competing against over 50 different countries in a bunch of different skill areas. So I was up for web design. And also entered Digital Jam, which was a competition put on by the government, and I also entered Caribbean Beta and Kingston Beta put on by Ingrid Riley. So some of those things are the experiences that I got. I think I won Caribbean Beta. I was placed second. I didn't have a pitch. I just went up there, pulled up my Google Analytics for WebCreate, and showed them that I'm doing this amount of visits per day, and I had to be placed at the top. So I've done a bunch of things. I built ad networks. So I'm really good at building ad networks. My ad networks are literally anything like Google AdSense, where you basically can do like contextual targeting and all of that. So I've built those type of things before. Built websites where you can go download music and all of that. So I've just been building. I'm a builder. I like creating things, But at a point in my life now where I'm 30 years old, I have to be serious. So that's pretty much what my history is in terms of how I came to just be building stuff and creating companies and all of that. I just see things, I just see problems everywhere, and I think about how to automate them or make them better, or just to inject myself within the flow of where money is, and that's how I create businesses.
Oh, that's a very interesting process.
Yeah.
Quick question: for how long? You said you sold the business in 2013, and when did you start?
I started it in 2010, just as I started college. Yeah.
Okay, so about 3 years it took you to get to that point then.
Yeah, I didn't want to get to that point. I could have sold it long before that when it was doing better, because we had a bunch of crashes. At that point, building stuff, and I was just creating stuff. I didn't know about scaling anything or having a cached backend to scale it and all of that. So, we would have like a 200 queries hitting our servers per second, and that would kill things. But it gave me experience about DevOps and server infrastructure and architectures and how to now scale things in the future. So that business was a great learning experience about building software. And, software is what powers my business.
Okay, that's quite an interesting progression of how things panned out.
Yeah.
Okay, so how all of that experience, I'm sure it showed you the importance of experience in doing about all of this. So with all that experience now, how did Orba One how did the idea for Orba One come about?
So Orba is the group. I'm no longer a part of Orba. I left in the last 7 months to start GiftMe. But the story behind that was that started off as a workforce management software that a friend and I built back in Mandeville. I was living in Mandeville in end of 2017 up to that point. But before that, I was involved in blockchain, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and I built the first blockchain mobile wallet here in Jamaica. I was the VP of engineer at CarryCoin, where I built the whole thing and hired a bunch of people and, Bitcoin and all of that. So I've been involved in that space. And I don't know a lot about that space before you hearing about Web3 now and NFTs and all those kind of things. Well, those things are literally just protocols sitting on the blockchain, and people use them to do different things so that they can monetize and make a lot of money. But it's a lot of noise also, and 90% of the things that you will see in that space, just like ICOs, are frauds and people just trying to make some quick money. So I kind of stay away from that space for now. It's still interesting. It's just the basis of the knowledge that I have there. I can still jump back into it at any point in time. So fast forward to, I went back to Mandeville in 2015. And then I stayed there, took a break really from software engineering and everything, and gave myself some time to go to the gym and get fit and all of that. And then I started the project. It was called Staff Genius at the time. It was supposed to be an employee management system that does like clocking in, clocking out, and all of that, right? Came to Kingston, met up with Dwight Scott. I needed somebody to sell the project because I was just a software engineer. So we kind of started out, with that project, and then it morphed into an agency. Was called BlackRock Technologies before it was renamed to Orba, right? Because BlackRock was too close to BlackRock in the United States. So we decided to rename it, and we took on a bunch of projects, ranging from, banking systems, loan origination systems, brokerage systems for a lot of the companies. You know about Sagicor, Proven, First Union, a bunch of them. We did a bunch of software for them. And since it started off with me wanting to sell a SaaS, which is a software as a service, I wasn't necessarily passionate about building an agency, but it became our bread and butter. And, we worked at that for 3 years, built it up to the point where it had multiple employees. I think the business grew to over $100 million in revenue per year. So it was a business that was in a place that could go really big. It could go somewhere, right? But I think it was stable, and it was time for me to step away and basically focus on what I'm really passionate about, and that's solving one core problem that becomes a platform, not necessarily solving every problem for everybody. And that's what an agency is, right? So GiftMe, that is Orba. And then Orba One and all those different software, those ideas, I came up with by just building agency software. So agency was a part of what gave me like insights into these businesses, the inefficiencies. So me building these things for the agencies, I saw that onboarding, KYC and all of that was a big issue here in Jamaica and everywhere else. And so I decided to build something that would have automated that process where people could do facial verification on their devices, facial matching and, securing to ensure that the person is real in front of the device and all of that. And that's how Orba One came about. It was supposed to be a central utility that you basically authenticate your KYC one time, and then you could share it with different institutions that you wanted to do business with. So it was like a KYC wallet. That didn't work out, and we kind of decentralized the model. That was a centralized model. We decentralized it by giving every business an SDK, which is a software development kit, to basically install their own KYC infrastructure using the Orba One technology. And Orba One would just be in the back, like a backend processing all the data, and then giving these businesses the results like, is this person fake, real? Are they trying to scam? A bunch of different insights you would get from there. You could run AML reports and all of that. And that's how Orba One came about. And then we had a lot more ideas that were SaaS. But when you're focusing too many things, you really, as you had alluded to earlier, you need to focus on one thing first, make that thing work, and then can build other things on top of that. And that's how you scale the product or the distribution layer of your business, right? And so that led me to think and really said I wanted to really start over. And GiftMe is a starting over point for me. And I was in the United States, was walking through a mall, saw a physical gift card and a stall. Like you'd call it a stall. It was like one of those little stalls in the middle of the mall. I was like, what the hell is this? Checked it out with my curiosity, and then I said, well, I couldn't sleep the night I started thinking about it, was like, there's no business in Jamaica that has anything like this. There was nothing like this really. And then I said, I'm going to ask my friends about this, do some research, let them talk to some people. And initially, we got some great feedback. Businesses wanted to use a product like this. So we rapidly prototyped the version 1 of GiftMe within about 2 weeks. And we started getting sales after those 2 weeks from the first set of merchants that we brought on. I was like, yo, we're onto something. And since then, we have basically iterated on the product. It has become a really big product with multiple different revenue streams, from corporate sales to consumer sales to expense cards to a bunch of other things that I can't talk about on this because they've not been launched yet. And our loyalty software. So we have a digital loyalty software, and all of this is digital. So we've removed any need for paper trail, anything like that. We don't need that, right? And businesses love us. We have some of the biggest brand names. You can go on the website at getgift.me. Some of the biggest brand names on there, over 100 merchants, and we just started 7 months ago. So we have really found a product market fit. What we're working on now is distribution, and this is how we actually focus now on selling the product everywhere. So it should be everywhere. So we basically made a bunch of partnerships I can't speak about yet. They will be coming out in the media. And we have basically sold millions of dollars already in just 7 months of gift cards. So we're basically adding or increasing the GDP or making it better in this country. So essentially, we found a product, a niche. We made it work. We have a lot of orders coming in from the diaspora, hence foreign income, really, right? And then these businesses are able to now to make extra money or an additional revenue stream. And we just charge a transaction fee, and that's how we actually make money with GiftMe. So, yeah.
And are the gift cards only digital?
Only digital, no physical gift cards.
Okay. That was a good idea because I've seen a couple of them, especially in Kingston. I saw them like in General Foods and a couple of others. So I think more and more people are getting involved in it on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, for sure. It was a big opportunity because this Christmas was the most orders that we've ever received in a single week. Millions and millions of dollars of orders. And that was quite interesting that, it kind of it kind of showed us that this is the direction that we're going in, and it's a good direction. And it has set the tone for what 2022 will be. Right. And so we're just looking to expand on the business. We're building a bunch of stuff now. And I'm trying to iterate as fast as possible to meet the opportunities in the market. And it's a big open market. It can handle multiple players. So we're not even watching other players and what they're doing. We're just trying to get to certain targets that we want to get to, and to build a sustainable business. And that's what we're focused on.
Okay. So, moving on, and I just want to backtrack a little bit about in the same GiftMe process or going on with it. Yeah. What do you think? What's the whole process of it, or can you put it into words that when you have an idea, looking at the market and all that, what do you think are the most important points to note along that path?
All right. So, there's a traditional approach where, a lot of people will, and it depends on which area you're in. So a lot of businesses that are physically intensive will be different as if you were approaching it from a technologically enabled or from a pure technology approach. So for me, I think about everything as technology. So I can only speak from that front. And so how I go about this is quite simple. I have a bunch of ideas, as a matter of fact, and I kind of look at the market opportunity first. So I believe that the market size or the market is where people are already transacting. So you just need to put yourself in there, right? By building something that is more efficient, it's saving them time, or it's doing something that is not there yet that is making people's lives better in some way. But the market must always already exist. What you can do now after you have gained market is to basically build out segments. And segments are literally the same market, but you're just building out new opportunities or influence in the market with new software, new features, etc. However, the first thing that you need to do when you think about an idea, you come up with an idea, is literally to go to Google and say, what is the market size of this? So the first thing I did was to go to Google and say, what is the digital gift card market size? And I saw that it was really huge and growing at a CAGR of about 18.6%, right? And that is really big. So I decided this is a big market opportunity globally. Don't know what the market size is in Jamaica, right? So the quickest thing I did was not to basically think or to guess. I asked the person that I wanted to go in business with to talk to a bunch of merchants, right? A lot of merchants, and about the pain points. It's almost as if you're pitching them, and then they will tell you the problems that they're having, and that is really how we started to build this, from pure feedback. So nothing. We don't do any guesswork in this business. Everything is data driven, right? And some things is luck, yes, but majority of the decisions that you make in a business has to be data driven. Else, you don't have a direction if you're not using data. And so, as I said before, just to reiterate, first thing is to come up with the idea. Second thing is to research the idea, what the market size is, what are the players in the market already, and what type of transactions they're doing, and then to go talk to actual customers before you start building anything. If I'd spoken to customers and this wasn't something that they needed at that time, I would have moved on really quickly. So your main strategy as a business person that's building different things is to try to fail as fast as possible. And to do this, you need to know as fast as possible, and you need to iterate as fast as possible. And that's what we try to do with the GiftMe. And that's how I come up with all ideas. This is what I'm really good at.
And that's funny because I think the process is the same for a lot of people. In finance, for example, they tell you that the market is never around because the market knows what it wants.
Exactly.
So when it sees it, it will gravitate towards it, you know? So I think that's a very interesting point.
Yes. And also, just to add, is a lot of people, they when they're building a business, they tend to build it linearly. So for your viewers, you can go research linear versus non-linear business. And a lot of people will succeed or fail if they figure out or don't figure out what their distribution layer looks like. So in a linear business, you tend to go step 1, step 2, step 3. In a non-linear business, you tend to leverage existing distribution infrastructure to grow your business as quickly as possible. And that's the way to go. So don't build a business linearly, build it non-linearly. That's just my advice to you.
So in other words, don't reinvent the wheel.
Don't reinvent the distribution layer. Don't reinvent that wheel. You can reinvent a lot of things, but just don't reinvent that wheel.
Not that wheel.
No.
Okay. I think that's great advice, because a lot of people will think that they'll have to, for example, own all the assets or everything to make money with a business, but that's not necessarily the case. As long as you can be efficient with what you're doing, then there's an opportunity there.
Precisely. And once you've figured out what the market is and the market opportunity is big enough, don't think about your competitors. When you focus on them too much, then you're just sidetracked. You need to just go build what you're building and work on your thing, and it will take longer than you think. Always, give yourself 5 years if it's a business that is working out. But I think you can figure out if it is working within 6 months, 3 months to 6 months. If it is not, don't baby up a business. Move on immediately, right? Because you don't have time to waste.
Yeah, I agree. Because some people hold on to the business for their life, even when it's not. There's nothing really there anymore.
Exactly, and also get your financial strategy right from day one. Think about accounting. Doesn't have to be like tight and knit, and you're doing all sorts of KPMG stuff and all of that. You just need to have a basic principle around what you're accounting. Money is going in, money is going out. What are they tagged up as, right? And then now you can use that as a basis. So when your business needs to scale, you actually can get the accounting right. That is very important, accounting.
So do you think it's best to have one person or at least two persons, one more focused on the accounting side of things and one more focused on the product and that side of it?
Well, for accounting, I think you don't need to focus on it. What you need to do is create systems, right? And that's a big thing. in business, you need to create systems to do anything that is a mundane task. So accounting, can be simplified as just connecting your Scotia bank account or whatever bank account to QuickBooks, and they will just pull in all the records. You can go in there later and clean it up, tag whatever transaction is an expense and all of that. So those are just things, and then your invoices now and all of that. So, as long as you have electronic records, so don't try to deal in a lot of cash, for example. You need to have electronic records, and then the accounting process is easy to put together. But what I mean is just have it a bit formal from day one. Don't, be too sporadic or having it all over the place.
Mm. Okay, yeah, I definitely agree with that. And that in the long term, in terms of keeping records and having a database, it's much easier to track that way.
Yes,
having,
it is 100% easier to track.
Yeah, so another question I wanted to ask you, in terms, as you can see on the screen, what do you think can be done to improve the uptake of more technological solutions and ideas locally, that is?
So, the uptake itself is the solution, right? There's a lot of solutions that I've seen over the years, and some are good, some are bad, but majority have been bad here in Jamaica. I think technologists are not business people, right? Are not user experience UI people. They don't solve problems from feedback, and that's one of the big issues. So you'll find an app is a big CRUD. Is just create, read, and update and delete like app, right? And that's all it does. It's just a CRUD, and it doesn't have the best experience, and it doesn't have the best marketing strategy in terms of a landing page and explain of videos and all of that kind of thing. And so people will say it doesn't look professional to them, and the uptake will not be good. And also, Jamaica is a really small market, right? So, I would not necessarily look at the technological uptake here in Jamaica. I would look at people building more SaaS, right? So more software as a service solutions, that can be sold on the internet to everybody in the world. So that the world is a bigger market, so even people building these, so there's a facade that it's only showing us that, these successful SaaSes from the United States. When a man can literally get up tomorrow and build a SaaS in the United States in one state, and because one state is so big, he's successful, he builds $1 billion business in the state. But that's very difficult to do in Jamaica if you're not building a bank like NCB and all those type of things. Right, you will never build a successful $1 billion software as a service or technology business in Jamaica, right? Just in Jamaica alone, you need a larger market, right? Unless you're getting all the corporates to pay you $10,000 a month. You get me? So for the uptake, I think in terms of technology, there are just a bunch of things I would say is to build better solutions, cleaner solutions, and focus more on the experience instead of the technology itself, right? If you're not building a Zoom, for example, where digital conferencing technology is really difficult, and you have to solve the codec issues and streaming issues and all of that, which they've done very good. So their product itself is their IP. If you look at Zoom's user interface and experience, it's not good looking at all. But they're a $1 billion company because they've solved a pure technological problem. But if you're only enabling processes and experiences with technology, don't think about the technology, think about the processes and the experience themselves, right? And that is how you need to actually approach technology that you want better uptake. So what we've always prided ourselves in from ever since I was at Orba was building the cleanest experience ever. So if you look at the things that we've built, like Sagicori Invest, Proven, IPO Pro, or anything else that we built, you'll notice that the experience is quite simple, and that's the comments that we've always gotten. So I approach software development from an industrial engineering perspective. I don't think about it as pure software. I'm thinking about it as shafts and bolts and how they come together and why the experience needs to be like this. When to introduce friction, all those type of things, transitions, how things feel, how they look, empathy and colors and all of that coordination. That is very much more important than what the backend does and pulling reports and all of that. And you will find that a lot of people look at your software, and it is a competitive advantage if you have a better experience, right? If you have 3 less features than your competitor, but you have a better experience, I can guarantee you that they will go with you, right? And so the uptake, focus more on the experience, focus more on the sales and the marketing and business aspects of things. If you're a technical founder, find a founder who is a marketer or a businessman, and split the shares in the business with them, and I know that the business will work out that well. And if you look in Silicon Valley or Miami, there's a lot of founders that are not technical. They go out and they find a technical founder, but their business is normally always successful because they understand the business side of things, and that is very important. So I've done that transition where I transitioned from being just pure technology, thinking about things as technology, to being a business person, how to approach solving problems from the business perspective. Your customers should solve your problem, not you, right? And you're just enabling the solution to the problem, but they are the solvers, and that's how I think about it.
Okay, that's interesting. So, I think we've seen this example a lot where, so essentially you're saying the user experience is more important, or is more important at that stage than, say, having a great technical solution to a problem.
Yeah, so basically you put them into two buckets. You have the back-end infrastructure, you have the front-end infrastructure, right? Usually, I believe that, especially when you're just starting out, everything else can be optimized, but your interface should be very beautiful, especially if it is a technology-enabled business and not a core technology where I need to click a button and the camera comes up and it works perfectly. People will basically ignore interfaces and all of that for full technology business like Zoom, but because it does video conferencing really well, you can hear me, I can see you, that works, right? But if I'm just engineering a process now where I need to send over some files, and then those files need to be automatically processed by something and then spat out into something else, then that is a process, technologically enabled process, because the process already exists, but you're just enabling it now with technology. And for those things, the experience needs to be very beautiful and simple. When people say, "Oh, I can click one click, oh, it's done," I can't believe it's like magic. That's literally how you need to think about software, right? When to introduce friction, so everything doesn't have to be snappy and fast. You can introduce a message that's literally saying, waiting for response from server, and show a nice message, all of those kind of things. So that is transitions and friction and all of that. What it comes in user experience and user interface design. And I found that in all my years of engineering software, and it's about 18 years now, that experience, is better, because backend and caching and infrastructure and database, your customers are never seeing that. They're never seen any of those things, right? So when you think about, your product, you need to think about the interface and exactly what you're solving, and what the input looks like and what the output looks like, and what the transition looks like and the throughput and all of that. So that's how I think about building something. What should it look like? What should it feel like? What should it take in, and what should it output? That's how I think about it.
That's an interesting point of view. So tell me, do you think, for example, of the culture of Jamaica's developers and business people, what can be done to transition more towards that kind of mindset, where we're looking at the ease of the whole process across the board?
All right. So, essentially, I've been in an agency. I can tell you that a lot of billion-dollar ideas are living in spreadsheets inside corporations. Mm-hmm. So a guy in a corporation has this mundane task to do, and he automates it using a spreadsheet, right? Mm-hmm. Now, being in these organizations, you'll find that a company has a whole entire loan origination system living inside of a spreadsheet. Boy, I can tell you from experience, there's a lot of software living in spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets. So I think that what can happen is that you can find these businesses and let them show you what their spreadsheets look like, what they've automated in their spreadsheets. You'll find a lot of ways how people are doing things. And then you can think about how to do these things in a software way. And if you automate that, there are other businesses who will be willing to pay for that product. Nobody wants to go into a spreadsheet every time they need to originate a loan. They rather a nice little interface that they log into and they can do things. So I also think that, there needs to be an emphasis on user experience engineers, not designers or UI designers, user experience engineers, right? So that I'm a big believer in that. User experience engineers, they're so hard to find. I think more people should become user experience engineers, and then you need to have feedback engineers, people who literally just collect feedback from their customers, people who talk to 100 customers and then take that info and then turn it into software. And I think that the big gap is missing from that. So people think that they just need to hire bright software engineers who know what you call like backend in technology and databases and all of that, and server-side programming languages and all of that. When we really need to solve the problems first before you even touch code. You have a lot of no-code tools nowadays, like Bubble, and a lot of different no-code tools are out there nowadays, what you can use to rapidly prototype your product, even before you start writing a single line of code, right? And so if you can do that, then now you can start writing beautiful software. Yep.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because a lot of people think that they'll have to know how to code themselves, or how to know somebody immediately that knows how to do it. But I think there's, as I said, from no code to no code.
So you have Bubble, Webflow, a bunch of tools. So no code is just a term that came out recently to govern these things. You have Notion, you have Airtable. There's so many different tools out there nowadays that can allow you to create mobile apps, web apps, and everything. And they've already thought about what interfaces should look like. So what you need to figure out now is the user experience, and just drag and drop in these tools and you have a product, right? And even though we don't do that because we're engineers, we want to build everything. But that's the fastest way for somebody who is a non-coder to go figure out their thing and basically rapidly prototype something that they can show their customers and say, do you like this? And then get feedback. After you've gotten feedback, I'm not a believer that you should leave your technology on these centralized platform. Then you can go find a technical fund and build that out. But you can start making money from day one on these platforms and then migrate. See what I'm saying? So again, as I'm saying, is that the last step should be to write code. The first step is to figure out the problem, figure out what the user experience should look like, if it is even a real problem. Once you've done that, you make your sketches in your book, and then you can start to code. Quickly, rapidly prototype, get feedback from your customer, and then iterate until you solve their problems. That's how I think about it.
So in a way, you think that when you get feedback, asking questions, doing the field work, all of that would be essentially you doing your research.
Yeah, R&D. Yes.
That's the R&D, right? So, similar to what's done in a lot of first world countries, they place heavy emphasis on R&D. That's not necessarily the case here, but at what point do you think, or what do you think it will take for us to realize that we need to place more emphasis on R&D?
I mean, I think they know. It's just that businesses here don't. In the United States, for example, I think it's about 10 to 15% or up to 20% of their revenue basically goes to their technology budget, right? In Jamaica, that will never happen. For now. These businesses, they need that profit to go buy Porsches and all those different things, So they're never going to do that. So, I mean, the few companies that invest heavily in technology, that are technology enabled businesses, and they spend big budgets on technology, they will be the winners that come out. And I've seen NCB doing that now. I can actually see it in their Link app, right? So I've been involved in mobile money space for a long time. I've reviewed all of them, from the Connect wallet to building the first CarryCoin blockchain backed wallet and all of that. So I've been through the whole process, and I can tell you that is the first version I've ever seen that makes sense. And that is essentially how I actually imagined the mobile wallet to be. No lengthy KYC process, just the same thing. They're using a similar technology to Orba One to basically verify your identity. They're using Unfido, which is a competitor to Orba One, And I love it. I love Link. I think it has potential to grow and to. The only difference is now there's no mandated law that all banks should have a open API or so open banking is not a thing yet in Jamaica. So if that was a thing, I think fintechs could strive more. So instead of just being able to connect your NCB bank account, you could just one click and connect your Scotia, your whatever bank account, And if you look at APIs such as Plaid.com, which is essentially an open banking platform that allows you to connect all the different banks in the United States into different apps. I think fintech would be better here, and then you need better solutions in terms of e-commerce integration with APIs that do credit card transactions and all of that kind of things. And you need better fraud tools, and you need better artificial intelligence. And I think those are just some of the areas that we need to pump a few $100 million into, and we'll be good in the next couple of years. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And on the point of Link and NCB, I realize that NCB has been probably the leading company in terms of investing in technology, because I think they were the first person, for example, Go IPO. They were the first company to automate that whole process. A lengthy process that you had to go into branch, sign up papers, make sure your bank transferred to the investment account and all that. And they just cut that out into a process that takes 15 minutes.
Yeah. But then we built something better for proven, because when IPO Pro came out, boy, everybody was like, "Yo, this is the best one." Yeah, I agree with you. They have the budget, they have the technologists, they have the software engineers, the user experience, they have the lab, they have a bunch of things, and once they focus and start to remove everything from the bureaucracy and corporate governance structure, and just put it in like a day one structure, just build and iterate and release, separate that kind of entity from the bank itself, I think it will do well. And I see they've also implemented some sort of viral marketing where they're spending a big budgets on giving away monies to different people who invite different people, and that will work. They just also need to build out the ecosystem a bit more, so it becomes inclusive with APIs and all of that. And once they do that, then I think once people can build plugins and all of those different things, it will work out better. And but I know how companies are in Jamaica; they want to hug up everything for themselves, and that can also kill them. So we will see who opens up and starts to build these things.
Yeah, I think because in the overseas markets in the US, they say that they have a saying like some companies are too big to fail. Yeah. But I think quickly they realize that if they're not improving on what they have, then things can go down. For sure, you're never too big to fail. A lot of big companies fail. Yeah, all the time.
If you're a monopoly, such as here, NCB is almost like a monopoly, almost, because they're the biggest, they're the leader. It's going to be very difficult for them to fail. They're too tied into government and infrastructure and many different companies. It's just too much. So they will not fail for now until our laws and everything become more open, and people you don't need to participate in the BOJ sandbox by partnering with a bank that you're trying to disrupt. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. So you're going to tell a bank your ideas because they will not sign your thing, so you can get no objection to then get a MasterCard and build a wallet and all of that. So it's almost one of the worst places in the world to build any sort of fintech technology, Jamaica. Worse. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you want to regulatory hurdles are too much. And, and I think it's because of AML and, a lot of these different laws, once we have better infrastructure in the country, like NIDS and all of that, I think things will become a bit more relaxed. And then, we can open up more protocols and more APIs and all of that. But, as again, everybody's competing for the same 3 million people that live here. And so it's quite difficult, such as the bank. So NCB will never share the APIs with Sagicor, and Sagicor will never share the APIs with Scotia. Scotia will never share with FCIB, and, the list goes on. It's just how it is.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think a lot of these processes can be streamlined. Because for example, you have Go IPO and IPO Pro, and recently Sagicor had their own platform, and
Yeah,
they
we
had a
built that
lot.
one too.
Yeah, with the Spurgery IPO that opened recently, I've been hearing a lot of complaints about
Invest.
invest exactly, and I'm like, they've already been companies that have built platforms. Like, couldn't there be some working together to like kind of streamline this whole process?
As I said, they will never work together, man. Never.
Yeah. So another question I wanted to ask, like for example, in the US, you have certain locations that foster certain communities, right? For example, Silicon Valley, they foster a community of software engineering and working together. Do you think in Jamaica that we have this or need to have something like this? And also, where would it be?
No, we don't have that. We don't have that, and it's really difficult. We don't have that level of camaraderie. It's just not there. In Silicon Valley, that's like an innate culture. Capitalism, helping each other, ensuring that another white man is successful. As a matter of fact, it is so difficult to thrive here just because of you have to pay off this man to get business. You have to those type of things, the bribery and all of that is too much here in Jamaica. So it's really difficult to build a business that solely depends here. Depends on here, right? And so especially a technology business, to get into a business, somebody that has political powers can actually just call him friend and him friend call it. It's so small. So in the US, I was just reading a tweet last night with somebody who migrated there, and they built a big business called Riplet, which is a platform that allows you to write code and all of that without, just in their platform. And it's a unicorn now. And some of the sentiments he had is that, it's so great to build a business in the US, especially Silicon Valley, because nobody's bribing you. You have the freedom to literally become a billionaire. Nobody judges you, because nobody will ever meet you and say they won't do this for you, because they could be working for you the next year. Because the freedom to build, the freedom to integrate, the freedom to just get credit and all of that is just so simple there. So it's easier there to build a business there, very much easier. And I don't see us getting that culture anytime soon, just because of the basis on which this country is formed, and going back to the laws and the relaxation of them, and you can't compete and disrupt banks because their monopolistic behavior is holding the legislation and the laws, etc. So yeah.
So with all of that, where's the silver lining, or where do you think the silver lining could be?
So I think the best way to approach this is to have a technology business from Jamaica that is extremely successful, right? A similar approach to how you have founders fund. Not even one business, you need multiple businesses. And then you need these founders to come together and share, the things that they went through and all of that. And get rid of the gatekeepers. You can't have these big people who are already rich. They're trying to take 50% of your company and all of that, and that's nonsense. They want to give you some change for 50% of your business. That will never happen in the States, right? And so you want to get rid of these gatekeepers. Firstly, you want to build a business outside of them that they can't touch. So you want to go to an international audience, and you want to take back some of that capital here, come together, similar to what a founders fund with the Peel Fellowship and all of that is. And then you need to invest in the youngsters and show them the right way. And I think that's the best way you could have an accelerator or an incubator-like program, because founded by founders and not necessarily by old men and old women who want to keep holding on to things and think that they should invest their money into youngsters when they don't understand the even principles behind technology or why we're building these things. And so that is one of my aim, is to become super successful, super powerful and rich, so that I can actually, and because I know what I'm going through now. So when I'm at that level, I can invest back into youngsters, and treat them better than these people would treat me now, for example, gatekeepers and people who are holding on to things and think that they should make a dollar of everything, your sweat and all of that. And it's so disgusting. You wouldn't even understand.
It's funny because I heard something similar where someone was saying that, like for example, venture capital or private equity in Jamaica is literally so concentrated among us, a few group of wealthy persons or wealthy individuals, and then after them, then it's kind of just a loose, just a blank feed. You don't really know what's happening.
Yeah, it is true. There are hidden gems though in every everywhere really, and we've been lucky enough to have met our hidden gem that invested in our business, and the person has been an extremely great person to us. Strategic, makes sense. Like our investor is a perfect fit for our business, and so I can't take away from the fact that there are people here, and usually you don't go find these people because you're finding the wrong people. These people find you, and so I mean, I think you just have to build something good, something that has potential, and then these people will find you. And it's hard enough to build a business and to get to a state where it's making a living for you and all of that. But once you're building a good thing, I think there are people out there with enough capital that can invest in you that will not take an arm, will not take your entire body for their capital, and I think it's also timing. And I think for me and my team, we've reached at a stage where people know, we're at that level where people can trust us because we've built enough things. We've sweat enough. So, building this thing, what we're serious about is our lives and all of that. It's very important to us, so people can sense that sort of morals in you. And then they're once they trust your team, they will just give you their money, even if you pivot. Even if what you start with today, you pivot and do something else, these people always believe in you and back you 100%. And so you just got to find your silver lining, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. And as you said too, I think the person that you find to invest in a business is probably the most, or one of the most important pillars that you can build a business on.
For sure. Especially, yes. You don't just want to take money from people, right? You don't want to do that. You want to find somebody who believes in the business, is very strategic, is in positions to help you, especially in a very tough place like Jamaica, that can make some calls and say, "Oh, this is I'm a part of this. Connect with this person. They can do this for you and all of that," and then you take it from there. But if you just take money from a trust fund kid in Jamaica, you're still stuck. You can just pay your bills, but you can't. It's still stuck.
Yeah, I understand. So, what do you think? What do you think can be done to help Jamaicans become more tech savvy? Do you think we need to start younger in schools with more IT programming sort of things?
Yes, so for sure, you need to start with the two pillars that are important for nowadays. You need to start with finance early and teach people what money is, how to make money, and how to invest and all of that. And then you need to start with technology, what technology is, build a business with technology and all of that early in school. Those things are very important. So right now, the infrastructure doesn't teach you how to be an entrepreneur or what money is and all of that. Outdated stuff, legacy stuff is still being taught. And I think once, if we change those type of things, you'll find that you have a bit more of a capitalism infrastructure in place where people are on edge to fight, to build something, and it's really interesting and all of that. And that spirit that the Americans have, competitive, and they take pride in their work and all of that. I think once we have those type of the fundamentals, then we will do much better at everything.
At everything overall.
Yeah.
I agree with you, because I think that when you realize that you're trying to do better for yourself as well as everybody else, and once that image sinks into you, I think people will start to get it. But until then, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So I know you touched a little bit more on your long-term goal, but what else would you want to be included in your long-term goals? What do you see yourself doing down the line?
So definitely some investing. I don't know if it's in the capacity of a fund or angel investing. But I mean, that is further down, maybe 6-7 years from now. My first long-term strategy goal, and I mean, long-term for me is like 5 years, right? Is to essentially take this business to at least 100 million US dollars, right? That's the type of revenue that I'm looking at. That's what I want the business to be in that time. And people, it might seem far, right? But if you aim low, then you're getting low. You got to aim high to get high. And you also have to think about the time and condense and, amplify your efforts in getting there. And that's what I'm doing, along with, just enjoying my time here on Earth, maybe start a family and all of that kind of thing, which is, obviously important to me, but me really building businesses, and earning great revenue and freedom is essentially just so that I have freedom to do the other things, spend time with my family and, just be a better person. I mean, that's just it for me. It's just a business. It's just a means to an end, really. At the end of the day, I always tell people that, money is not the most important thing, but you got to focus on that now and get it out of the way so that you can focus on the more important things. Good.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd want to share or touch on?
I think I've said a lot today. Well, for entrepreneurs out there, budding entrepreneurs, you just ensure that you try to fail as fast as possible, right? And if you don't fail, obviously you're succeeding, right? And try to fail as fast as possible. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, anywhere, just for advice and all of that. I'm very good at business models, and don't let anybody tell you that a business model is wrong. What I offer is advice and suggestions. I will never tell you that to stop or to go, right? I'm happy to help. My inboxes are open. I don't really have a lot of life advice. I would not say that I'm the best person at life. I'm just good at this. So there's nothing else for me to say. That's not my area to give some sort of jitsu advice like a Grant Cardone or Gary Vee or one of those persons. That's just not my lane.
Yeah.
So I will not give any advice there. No family advice, no advice like that. That's not me. Yes.
All right. Well, I think that's it. Thank you so much, Rushio, for joining us here today. It was very enlightening and a very powerful and helpful conversation. So that's it from us, guys. So take care. Join us on our next episode of The Vault, and have a good one.